Hi, this is Trust Neal with Call to Learn, and I have Becky Rogers here with me. Thank you for coming, Becky. We're excited to have you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Will you tell us something about you? Like, where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
Actually, I grew up in Provo.
Okay.
Just by BYU. We lived in a neighborhood that was full of BYU professors. My parents were education was very important in our home. And even though we all went to public school, my parents went above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that things were covered and that we were educated in a way that they felt was true to our family and what we wanted to have learn. They actually spent countless hours, outside of public school. We all had a musical education. We all had an education in history, things like that my parents were passionate about teaching us. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So when people say, "Were you homeschooled?" I say no, but then I think, well, actually, I kind of was.
Yeah. They went over and beyond. I like that. That's cool. So, okay, besides music and history, I'm curious, what other things?
We did a lot of family history was a big deal. My dad actually was a professional genealogist.
Okay.
When I was very young, he worked for BYU in that department, so that's part of kind of our heritage in our family as well. And proper rules of government, things like that were always important. My dad, when I was probably in about second grade, decided to go back to law school. And they had a house full of kids already at that point. And so I was the oldest, and so I remember it pretty well. He went back to law school specifically to learn constitutional law.
Wow.
He didn't really know what he was going to do with it. I don't know that he even really fully intended to practice law with it, but he wanted to deepen his own understanding of the Constitution, and he really felt called in that way. And so he, just by doing that, he actually made impressions with all of us as we were growing up, and kind of instilled that love of the founding of our country and things like that.
Beautiful. Is your parents still in Provo?
Actually, they're in Orem now, but
okay,
same.
well, close by. Do you get to see them often?
Yes, we do. They actually play a very integral part of our homeschool now, too.
Good.
So,
well, I'm anxious.
Really
to hear
appreciate
about
that. We really appreciate their support.
So, tell us how you met your husband.
We actually went to school together. We grew up a half a block on the same street.
Oh, so you know each other from
his sister was my best friend.
Okay.
Growing up,
Very nice.
So that's how we met. We went to high school together. He was into sports, and he was the VIP on the basketball. The basketball team, and I was the AP student. So we sort of hung in different circles all along, and we didn't actually date until he returned from his mission. And then after we got over dating someone like our brother or sister, then we hit it off, and
awesome.
it's been great. So
Very cool. Well, you told me earlier about a story of how he first held your hand. So why don't you share that with me?
Oh yeah, we were talking about how when you're talking and something happens to make you lose your train of thought. And we were at the opera on one of our on a date one night, and we were actually talking, and he just reached over and he held my hand for the first time, and I totally forgot what I was talking about and had to stammer and pretend make some sense out of whatever was stuff falling out of my mouth.
So has that become a joke between you two?
It's a joke between us.
Because I can stop Becky from talking if I hold her hand.
Exactly. Yes, I'll lose my train of thought.
That's cool. So tell us how you got into homeschooling.
Yes, that was an epic adventure.
All right.
Time of our lives. Okay, well, it sort of happened at the time. My oldest was in 5th grade, and then I had a son in 2nd grade.
Okay.
And then my twins were in kindergarten. That's right. Okay. That's what it was.
So I guess maybe
you're making me dredge it way back out of down in history. So
yeah. Well, I'm going to take it back just a little bit.
Okay.
Tell us how many children you have.
Okay, so we have 10 children.
10 children. Okay.
Now my oldest is 24 and my youngest is 4. So we have a 20-year spread there.
Very nice.
And at the time, my oldest, I think we had 5 children at the time.
Okay.
When we started to homeschool.
We got perspective. Okay.
Yes, and so what happened was, I was trying to be a dutiful mother with my oldest and do everything right. So I taught him how to read when he was 4. He could already read quite well, and then at the time when my second son would have been, that age when I would have been doing that, I had 2 2-year-olds. And so I was like lucky if I got a shower, and I didn't want anyone to come over to my house and see what was going on. And I was, still doing piano lessons with the older one and doing all those things. And I thought, oh, luckily, I just didn't get to the teaching him how to read part. And so I finally figured out I would, I justified it, not justify, that's not the right word, but I kind of consoled myself by saying, well, luckily he's going to school in a few.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily he's going to school in a few years. It's all going to be okay. He'll learn how to read when he goes to school, right? Yeah. That's what I thought was going to happen. So I put him in kindergarten, and then we, went on our merry way, and I was still trying to keep up with things and trying to be, learn how to take care of my family and do all the things I was supposed to do. And I sort of just trusted in the school system to do that. Mm-hmm. And then we moved, and around that same time, the school district implemented the investigations math. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I just saw some big changes happening in the math, and that was it sent out kind of some red flags and just a big alert to me to pay attention to what was going on. Yeah. Because what happened was I noticed that, first of all, I went from 2 children in school to 4 children in school overnight. Yeah. And in public school, there's, if homework is good, then more is better. And they just bring it in earlier and earlier and earlier to try and help kids, adjust to homework.
Kindergarten.
Right. Yep. And so I found myself at night, at dinner time, pulling out one child's homework, and we had to gather up all the buttons in the house for that child to sort them. Mm-hmm. And then I had to take another child around the neighborhood and count all the windows and just all of these different things. And I thought I was going to die keeping up with their homework. I just thought, are you kidding me? And then I started to think, okay, if a child isn't old enough to keep track of their own homework, then they shouldn't have homework.
Good point.
So otherwise, it's the mom, right? That's the mom that's going to do it. Now, it's kind of a little bit ironic because at that time in my family, I grew up in a very strong culture of music. So we started piano lessons when we were 4 or 5. And so we all played piano and something else growing up. My mom wrote a book on how to help your child practice without resorting to violence and all of that. So that was the culture I grew up in. So I wasn't opposed to being involved in my child's education. That was second nature to me. Yeah. I already was doing that. But we were doing it with
examples.
Right, and we were doing it with piano lessons and all of those different things that were things that were going to really grow those children. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when we got to that space in school where I couldn't even keep up with their homework, and they were in kindergarten, I was like, I'm going to tear my hair out. I don't know how to do this. And it's at dinner time, and we only have this very limited time that we can be together as a family, and I'm spending it doing this, and I'm stressed out, and we have to always be someplace, and just all of that. It was kind of the perfect storm, actually. Mm-hmm. So the thing that happened was one day, first of all, I noticed that with investigations math, they weren't teaching them times tables, and it was actually, and anyway, I'm not a math teacher, so I don't know all of the ins and outs and all the philosophies behind it, but I got to this place where my 5th grader, I was helping him do his homework one night, and he said, he was taking forever, and I said, well, what are you doing? And he says, I'm counting 7 8 times.
Oh, wow.
And I just thought, okay, so newsflash, I've neglected my role as the mother in keeping track of his education to this point. So I need to work with him on this, obviously. So mental note, sticky note in my brain. We're gonna work on this, put in some more effort on this. Yeah. And then one day, and then a few days later, I noticed that my 2nd grader still wasn't reading very well, hardly at all. And so I went to a parent-teacher conference. That's what it was. Yeah, to an interview with the teachers to see what was going on And the 2nd grade teacher told me, I said, I just have noticed, he's not up to level where he should be on his reading. And just wondering if you have any suggestions. And she said, he's actually just on exactly right on his grade level. And I'm thinking, he's been to public school for 3 years and he can't read. Yeah. So if that's the grade level, there's a little bit of a problem here. Yeah. And then my 2nd grader, bless his heart, he was also doing all of these weird things like drawing, like in his math problems, like drawing lines and all these different things. So I asked her, I said, just show me how you taught him how to do this so that we can
be on the same page.
Yeah, so I can know how to support
yeah.
you from home, and I can teach him, you know, and all that. And she said to me, "Oh, I didn't teach him that." She said, "I haven't taught him anything." She said, "So he either learned that, he either figured that out himself, or he learned that from another kid in the class."
Wow.
And she said, and some people even learn how to borrow and carry at home, which is really old school. I understand that now. But it's also super easy.
Yeah.
Much easier than what he was doing, you know. And so I went home just really troubled about things and just thinking, yeah, my kids are also going to learn how to borrow and carry, I guess, if we have to do it at home. And they need to learn their multiplication tables also. The irony of this is that math has never been our highest priority in our homeschool. We do it last, so we're always playing catch up, always.
Yet it was the
catalyst. Yeah.
Have you ever done multiplications on your fingers, like the big
numbers?
Yeah,
some of them, like the nines.
Like the 7 times 8.
Oh yeah.
Have you done that?
Well, show me.
Okay, I'll show you quickly. All right, so you have your number. This is 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Oh, okay.
So you have your sixes. So you're going to take 7 times 8. That was the problem.
Right?
Yeah. So I have my 7th finger, my 8th finger, and I'm going to put them together. So how many are touching each other? So if all of these are touching.
4.
No, count one more.
Oh. 2, 3.
5.
5. Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We're homeschoolers.
That's right. So there's 5 touching each other. That means that's going to be the first number.
How many fingers do you see? No.
Okay, do you get that? So there's 5 fingers touching each other, and then there's 3 and 2 left over, right? And what's 3 times 2?
You're going to ask me that question.
I am. I'm going to put you on the spot. Well, if you can't count to 5.
I don't know. We're going out on a limb.
So the answer is 50 and 6.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay,
so that's your 6 times tables?
No,
or
that's
just 7 times 7.
It's actually all your 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s can be done that way.
Oh, that's cool. I just have only known the 9s.
Like this one.
Yeah.
So now you know another way that you can teach them.
Now we have a new topic for dinner conversation tonight. We're going to learn something new
today. It actually is really helpful, even for the teenagers, because the teenagers go, I can't remember this one, and I have to count it out. But they can just do it on their fingers really quick, and they've got it.
Okay, we're going to play with that.
All right,
awesome. Fantastic.
Okay, so let's finish your story.
So that's what happened. Yeah, so that's what happened. So I was talking to an aunt one day, and I was just complaining. It's before I, learned how to be positive and stuff.
Good.
So I was complaining about what was going on and how stressed out I was, and she said, "Well, you can either just complain about it, or you can do something about it.
Yeah.
What's the point in complaining if you're not willing to do something?" And so I was like, I'm going to have to do something. But the thing that happened was I think I had always kind of known from the beginning that at some point I would be homeschooling my kids. I just didn't know it was going to be that soon.
So you felt like you were going to homeschool. So you knew something about homeschooling then before.
I had some friends when I was growing up that were also musicians. We studied in we had the same teachers and things like that. So I had seen it in their families.
Oh, okay.
And I thought that was pretty cool. I knew it was possible. And I knew, I don't know, I think I always had just a feeling that if things ever got bad enough, I would homeschool my kids.
Interesting.
I didn't think it was necessarily bad enough, but I think, I don't know. Well, I don't know. The Lord just made that happen for me. Yeah. I'm so grateful He knew how bad it was before.
Right.
So, and that's nothing about, that's nothing against public school as far as academics go, because I have fabulous friends who are teachers, and I know how much they care for their students, and I know how hard they work, and I just know that they are in a difficult situation, in a difficult system. It makes it difficult for them to do their job, the job that they love.
Yeah.
And so I really, hats off to anyone willing to put themselves in that position.
Yeah. So how was your first year?
Oh, well, first year.
Wait, first, did you take them out right away, like right after that?
Oh, you know what else happened? Okay, so it was like the perfect storm. Okay, so that was all going on. That's the background. And then I went to an event, and Oliver DeMille spoke.
Oh, bad choice. He changes people's hearts.
Yeah, he spoke. Well, so my dad bought his book.
Oh, okay.
My dad was at the event, too.
All right.
See, when I told you, my parents have been super huge sports. My dad bought his book. And then I went home, and this situation happened. So I went to him, and I said, "Do you have that book?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." So I got it from him, and then I read it. And I was reading about how, the love of learning and how our traditional ways of educating are not they're kind of killing our love of learning.
Yeah.
You know, and so as I read it, I just knew it was true.
Wow. Yeah.
As I read it, I just like literally, as much as I know other things are true, I just knew it was true. Like the Spirit bore witness to me about it. And but of course, it's a complete paradigm shift that happens overnight. And I think at the time, I think I just barely had a baby. I think I just barely had my number 6. Anyway, yeah. I mean, it wasn't necessarily an ideal time to do it.
Right.
But I started to think about it, and then I prepared over the summer. And I was like, yeah, we can. This is going to be awesome. We're going to do it. I read the book.
No.
And I remember the first day of school when we watched all of the rest of the neighborhood kids walk to school, and we did not. Yeah, I thought. I'm like, what was I thinking? What am I going to do? What if this doesn't work? Like all of that chatter.
Oh, yeah.
What made you think you could do that? And I was just like, well, let's just not panic. Let's not panic. You know, worst thing that'll happen is we can fix it, right? So let's just see what happens. Anyway, so that's kind of what we did. And in the beginning of homeschooling, I try to keep things very simple.
Okay.
Very simple. Because I had a bunch of little kids. And actually, when we started off doing part-time, actually. So we were doing the reading, writing, the core subjects at home, and they were doing the specialty subjects at the elementary school. And that worked okay, except that finally my kids just felt like it was too much work. It was too much coming and going for not a long period of time. And so we just said, I think we did that for one semester, and then we just pulled them completely out and just said, look at all of the other things we can do. You know, we can do things with friends. We can do, field trips. We can do all this.
Oh, yeah.
I still have those conversations. Look at all the things we could do. We could never get organized enough to do them.
Yes. There are lots of things we could do.
So
Well,
so that's kind of how we got started.
Yeah.
But I do remember a few weeks in. So because I had read the Thomas Jefferson education book, I tried to keep it. That was one of the reasons I was trying to keep it simple. So I just gave them basic requirements. They had a Book of Mormon assignment. They had a time. This is so long ago. See, I'm having to. And it's changed every year that we've done it. So at that time they had a scheduled time that they needed to do free reading, and I just told them. I said, I don't care what you read. You can do whatever you want. But it's for some it's 30 minutes. For you it's 45. For you it's an hour. Depending on how old they were. So I set that up, and then we did have a math assignment. We did some handwriting, writing out scriptures for their penmanship, and that was part of a memorization, like to help. We would write the same scripture till they had it memorized, basically.
Oh, okay, that's a great one.
And then I took, we would work spelling things just out of whatever they would write.
Okay.
So because I thought there's no sense in having them study words they already know how to spell.
Yeah.
So we'll make our own spelling list.
Yep.
Out of what they don't know. So we did that, and then, but the cool thing about that was I watched them explore their own love of learning and what they got to see. So, for example, my oldest son, and just for my own recording learning,
Okay.
I kept track so that in case I freaked out, I would have something to go back to for my freak out. So I would write down, every time they would read a book, how many pages it was, the date that they finished, blah, blah, blah. And my oldest son got really, really into mythology. And so we would take him to the library, and he would check out all of the books on Greek, Norse, Egyptian, Roman mythology, and he would just read them. And I think within a few months, and I don't remember now how long it was, but in a few months when I went back and I added up how many pages he'd read like 5,000 pages.
Wow.
Like it was ridiculous. And I just thought, what? And then one day he came to me and he said, do you have a notebook that I could have? And I said, I'm sure. What for? He says, I just want to write down everything that I've learned about mythology.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, it's working. And my cute daughter at the time wanted to study Mozart. So when she went to the library, she would check out all books Mozart, and so she she would do that. And we ended up with some book about the deaths of the composers and their like quirky, like Bach having needles stuck in his eyes. I mean, just like really bizarre things, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it was a book on Mozart, so it came home with us, and we just like, what? Wait, what?
How did this happen?
Yeah, really bizarre. But one day my husband came, we were having a conversation, and he said, and he's kind of the grounding force in our family. Like, he'll tell me if something's crazy.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, come back to planet Earth.
Right?
He was.
He
was. And so that's why I thought, okay, that's a sign right there.
Yeah.
That's a sign. If he thinks that's a good idea, then we have to do it. Yeah, he was. But one day we pulled into our garage, and we were having a conversation about it, and he said, if all we did was take our kids out of school and turn off the TV, they would be better off. For whatever that meant. They would be like safer, they'd be more free to learn, they'd be more,
True.
And because we were starting to notice already like things with our kids, with their attitudes, cleaning up from bringing them home, and how we were able to interact as a family and get along with each other so much better, and things like that. So anyway, yeah, that's how we started.
That's cool. Do you have any regrets?
Yes. My regret is that we didn't do it sooner.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Because my kids who went to school, they're not free. They're not as free in their love of learning as my kids who haven't been to school.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, they were more suspicious of anything I would ask them to do. You know what I mean? Like I'm all about love of learning. I can get totally into that. I love it. It's my nature anyway.
Yeah.
But when I would say, let's do this, or we can do it this way, they would be like, why do you want me to do that? And so there was that took some time to kind of work through, and they weren't as free at being able to work through it as my younger kids that didn't have that.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So.
Okay.
To subscribe to our YouTube channel, click here. To choose from our gifts and request updates on our most popular topics, visit calledtolearn.com. For more videos like this one, click this playlist. For Table Talk discussions, choose this playlist.